Hello and welcome to the Doofcast, the official variety podcast of doofmedia.com. My name is Scott Daly, and as always, this is my co-host and incredibly realistic de-aging of a 70-year-old man, Matt Freeman. Matt, how's it going this week?
I'm going well, Scott.
Oh, you're supposed to...
Let me turn the knob. Yes. I'm looking forward to talking about this modern superhero film.
You sound so enthusiastic, Matt.
What are you talking about? This is just the flattening effect that comes with the CGI voice.
I see. Yes, this week on the show, we are going to dive into the latest film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain Marvel. We're going to do a non-spoilery review, and then we're going to have a clearly demarcated spoiler section. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you don't have to leave yet. You can still see what our overall opinions are. And to do this review, this is a big movie. We can't do it alone. So we've asked our frequent guest, Sesh, to come back and talk about Captain Marvel with us. Sesh, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again. I'm very glad I get to talk about this movie.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Captain Marvel, and then I think we have... we're going to talk a little bit about the Endgame trailer, the Avengers Endgame trailer that came out today as we're recording this. And then we're going to do a little bit of what we've been watching at the end of the show. So it's going to be a good show, I think. I hope so.
Of course.
Maybe it'll be a mix with some good parts and some bad parts.
Always. The bad will be good.
That's a great way of looking at it. Speaking of which, let's talk about Marvel's newest film, Captain Marvel.
So, Skrulls are the bad guys. And you're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
Your life began the day it nearly ended. We found you. With no memory, we made you one of us. So you could live longer, stronger, superior.
I realized as I started that sentence that saying Marvel's Captain Marvel is bad, but I did it anyway.
It's strange. Can we just start off by saying what a strange choice it is to have your character be named Captain Marvel? When it's like, it's just like too meta. It's meta. It's weird.
But
breaks everything.
Do you know the long, confusing, windy history of the Captain Marvel name, Matt?
I researched a little bit, but I don't want to get into it. It's very confusing and lots of copyright competition issues as well. Yep. Plus, like just extra, like normal. Well, you know what normal like comic book confusing background stuff is, but extra even on a comic book level plus all the other legal stuff and writes the name and when
you know the storyline of that name is confusing and unwieldy for a comic book, it's bad. But anyway, we're not here to talk about all that. We're not here to talk about Shazam. We're here to talk about Captain Marvel, the 21st film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It still hasn't like quite set in with me that we're 21 films in 10 years is where we're at right now.
Oof.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I haven't even seen some of the Marvel movies, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible. I thought like Disney mandated that all humans must watch these films.
Yeah.
Is that not?
I mean, not only that, but
I
don't even feel like I'm missing anything.
But what did you miss?
Well, I haven't seen the third Thor movie, and I haven't seen...
Yes, you have. Mm-hmm. The third Thor movie is Ragnarok. That's like your favorite movie.
No, that's the fourth Thor movie, isn't it?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
There's only been 3.
Then I haven't seen the second Thor movie.
There you go. Dark World is the one you haven't seen.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 21st Marvel movie, first Marvel movie with a female lead, which is a pretty big deal. It took them 11 years to do it. So let's just jump into our overall thoughts. Matt, we'll start with you. What'd you think about Captain Marvel?
So you're always grading on a curve when you're talking about Marvel because you're kind of buying into Marvel film product. And Captain Marvel is, I think, an above average Marvel film. It's a good first film. It's better than most of the like sequel films in any given hero's journey. Like as like a standalone movie, it's like not the greatest science fiction that you'll find, but it has some fun, good scenes. It has, I would say, a number of really interesting concepts and fun scenes that are well executed and look nice. And I almost want to say that the movie's worth it just for those scenes. I'm not quite at the point of saying that because those scenes are tied together with a lot of talking that doesn't work for me too well. But there's a lot of good in it. That's kind of my short summary of my feelings.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Sesh?
Yeah, I think, it wasn't my favorite of the Marvel. I almost said favorite of the Marvel.
That's how
movies.
You know that the implant that Disney installed in your head is working properly.
Yeah.
They never take it out, but if you've seen all the movies, you're stuck with the implant. So it's not my favorite of their movies. It's probably somewhere in the middle. I'm feeling like it's. I think it wasn't their best for like a first, like an original or an origin story. I mean, but for compared to like the sequels that they have, a lot of the times, I feel like this one's probably better than like a lot of the number 2 movies that came out. I think it was I like the humor in it, which has kind of been bothering me a lot of the times in Marvel movies where, like the joke is the quippiness is more important than the drama. I didn't feel like it lost that, but at the same time, even though it had good timing with that, which I don't usually do, it wasn't quite as dramatic as it could have been. But it was still really fun action and I could get into it more, but it was definitely really enjoyable. I really actually liked the hand-to-hand combat stuff, and I think all the costumes and makeup and everything looked really amazing. And sometimes they mute those things, especially like the big bold colors and like the very, very true to their original costumes. They tend to be a little bit muted in live action stuff, so it was just really nice to see it like all just going ham.
Yeah, it feels like Marvel finally learned how to color correct properly, right? It just took 11 years, but we're here.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very like epic, right? Like it's got this it's unique. It's not even the same feeling as the Guardians movies, which are also the space movies, right? It's even more like kind of bombastic and everything is like very colorful and very, I'm just going to use the word epic again. I don't even know if that's what I'm trying to say either. It's just like the pure manifestation of these awesome feelings you're supposed to be feeling visualized.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And my overall opinion on the movie is I think right where you guys are. It's mid-tier Marvel to me. And it's so funny that we have to there's so many movies in this damn franchise that we don't compare them to other films anymore. We just compare them to each other. That's just what we do now. But yeah, I mean, there were parts of this movie I really liked. I mean, this movie was directed by and written by Anna Bodin and Ryan Fleck, which are 2 writer-directors that have done very small indie films. That really is all they've done. And then they've done some TV as well. They've never done a movie this big. And there are parts of this movie where you can really feel that, where like when the movie gets big, when the movie gets super epic, I think it loses me a little. But in some of the moments, some of the really quiet, emotional, like characters talking and dealing with their emotions in an intimate setting is when the movie really works for me. And I think that's because that's their comfort zone as writers and directors. They really did know how to do all this other stuff, but that is what they were comfortable with. And I think that shows in the movie for good and for bad.
Yeah, I could kind of see that too. Like there was definitely I remember a lot of people before I'd seen this movie, they were complaining about her acting and she's so flat and she doesn't know how to act and all of that. And I'm watching the movie and she's not bad. She isn't. She is conveying what we want her to convey. It sounds believable. It sounds real. It doesn't sound reedy. Like the emotions that they're trying to convey are there. I think the issue is actually from the directing because I noticed this with everyone. Everyone was a little flat from what I thought the emotions really should be. Because this was a prequel movie. This was Nick Fury's first introduction to aliens. This was the real first introduction to space and all this other stuff going on. And there could have just been so many more moments of wow from everyone. Like even what's her name in the beginning? Captain Marvel. I'll call her that for now.
Yeah.
Like even her like landing on Earth and just being flustered, like so primitive. Like just there could have just been a little bit more oomph to everything. Yeah. All the fish out of water stuff, and I just felt like that was super lacking. I don't think it was like an actor's issue. I think that was just kind of the direction they were given, and it's, a combo from probably script problems and those lines not being there and directing not, picking up the slack there either.
Well, I wonder if that's a product of this being the 21st movie. Like, I agree that, like, the first time Samuel L. Jackson finds out there are aliens, Nick Fury should be going crazy, and his reaction is kind of just funny, sarcastic.
Yeah.
And it's a good scene, but also, like, I wonder, like, if we, the audience, want to see, like, we've known there have been aliens for like 8 years, and so do we, the audience, really want to go through and experience that whole thing again? And I think that goes back to this whole idea that they've set this origin story for their kind of final piece of their Avengers puzzle in the past, and how that can do interesting things as far as like it's playing off a lot of 90s nostalgia, and I think we'll get into that a bit, but also it puts us in a place before this entire universe existed, and like we the audience are already past that. Like I don't know if I want to see everyone like contemplate the existence of aliens anymore, because like been there, done that.
It's a weird decision to make this movie at all. We were talking about this before we started recording, that the idea that like the Marvel universe has been this well-ordered tapestry. Everything connects to everything. Everything has been sequenced out and built up gradually and perfectly. And we got Infinity War, which was this excellent like first half of what is going to be a culmination. And then before we get to the second half of the culmination, we're like, oh, and here's another one. Here's another character. It's like, I mean,
plus maybe is it Spider-Man before Infinity War?
That's also,
or is
confusing.
it the other way around?
Well,
right.
The new Spider-Man movies, I think it's supposed to be before Infinity War.
It's supposed to take place before, but is it being released before as well?
I don't know if it's supposed to take place before Infinity War. Honestly, I don't think it is.
I think that they're saying that it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, psych.
They're lying.
We actually bring Spider-Man back to life, and it's fine, and it's after Spider-Man. It's after Infinity War. I agree that is highly possible, and they could just be lying. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like it's a weird thing to do in the first place. It for all those reasons you just said, Scott. You don't want to have like another origin story like at this point in this arc of what's happening, and I think it leads to like a weird script, and I also think Sesh is exactly right that just like there's so many scenes in this movie where I'm just like, what is the feeling of this scene? What are you trying to make me feel here? Mm-hmm. Because none of the actors, and these are all great actors, none of them are really like aiming at a target. They're not. I'm not feeling anything. I don't know what you're trying to make me feel. The directing doesn't seem to be pointing me at it, and it just seems. I think it's like a causal chain of why these problems happened. Is like, well, this is a weird time to be making this movie. It doesn't. You can't. What are you trying to make me feel if I already know all of the secrets that you're trying to hide from me,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think it would have been fun though to have like a little step back and be like, okay, let's get back to the origins, like that's like there's a moment sometimes in, just in scripts and stories where like, all right, rewind, let's go back to the beginning and see where this all started. And this almost felt like it wasn't taking advantage of that opportunity. Totally, not fully. Like, I want to see the wow, Like,
I do think that's what they wanted to do. I think that was where the goal of this movie. And I mean, like this, without spoiling it, the central premise of this movie is a mystery. We have Captain Marvel, who is this character named Veers, who is played by Brie Larson, and she's a Kree. She's an alien soldier that fights against the evil Skrull army. And the mystery of the story is her trying to find out her origins, where she came from, why did this happen to her, and I mean, I like that the movie is trying to like not just tell a bog standard origin story. Like, I think we're so sick of comic book origin stories now. Like, we've done it so many times, and
there are a lot.
I appreciate the mystery, like trying to upend that. I didn't feel like the mystery on its own was very captivating. Like the truth of who Veers is was never the thing that got me from scene to scene in the movie. The things that got me from scene to scene in the movie was Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson playing off each other. And I mean, I have been a fan of Brie Larson like since, God, what was the first movie I saw her in? Scott Pilgrim or 21 Jump Street or I don't know the time of all those work out, but I've like loved her since then. I thought she was excellent in those movies. And it's so wonderful seeing her career like blossom into this amazing thing where she's like this legitimate superstar. And I think she's great here. She has the exact kind of like, she has this very specific kind of like screw you attitude that I think a lot of people read as flat. And I get that, but I think that's like, I think that's her doing something. Like, I think she's not reacting emotively because she's a bad actor. She's doing it because that's who her character is.
I think it was absolutely like her character and what the direction was, because the whole time she's kind of quippy and she's not overreacting to like anything.
Yeah.
So it was very, very it was very Star-Lord-esque to me. Like, I was just constantly being reminded of like him, especially, and about all the superheroes out there and all of the leads in any of the movies. Like, it was very, very, very Star-Lord.
And this is the part of the movie. Like, I think the movie, like the individual scenes in the movie are great. I love the quippy. Like, we haven't even talked about Ben Mendelsohn, who plays Talos, who is the Skrull bad guy basically in this movie. Mm-hmm. He is fantastic. He's wonderful. He's so funny. He has such wonderful attitude. I loved every scene he was in. He stole literally every scene he was in.
He had a lot of charisma. At first it was kind of bothering me, but it later on, like, I was like, okay, I like this. It makes sense. It works.
That was, I think, my favorite subplot was the Skrull subplot overall. Not to go into spoilers, but that was very strong to me. That's one of the things I'm talking about when I say, like, there's a lot of really great parts, a lot of really great scenes tied together with a lot of just like people talking in a car, and you don't know, it doesn't matter. You could just skip it.
Well, and I mean, here's the central problem. I think Veers as a character is kind of confused. And what I mean, like, the makers of this film knew that this was going to be the first female-driven film in the MCU, and they wrote a movie that's kind of about that. It's like, this is not a feminist movie, but it's not a feminist movie, right? Like, I mean, the main through line of this movie is people keep telling her she can't do things because she's a woman, and her like managing to pick herself up and overcome that stuff. That's the basic idea behind this movie. And I just don't know if they pulled it off very well beyond like a very, 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 very simplistic level. And maybe that's okay. Like, maybe, I think we'll get into this when we talk about the spoilers, but maybe it's okay though that like, if the target audience for this movie is like 8 to 12-year-old girls, that's just saying like, no, you're actually awesome. Don't worry about it. Maybe that's enough.
I mean, girls can have, really strong, quippy, kind of bland characters too.
Right, exactly. I read some reviews that said the most remarkable thing about this movie is that it's just a bog standard superhero movie, except it just happens to be starring a woman.
Hell yeah.
And that's I mean, that's progress on its own.
We did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you guys, I feel like we're like dancing around issues and things that I really want to dive into, but we can't do that outside of the spoiler section. Did either of you have anything else you wanted to say before we moved into it?
I think for like non-spoiler stuff, what I did really like is it's really easy to see how quickly she's able to connect in very believable ways with other characters and form bonds and form friendships. Like, there's a lot of the interactions I think are just instant and believable, which sometimes in other ones it's like, oh, cool, we were both punching people at this place, so now we're best friends. And it's like, no. Like, it always felt a little forced because it's like, oh, well, they have to be friends for the future. In this one, it actually felt pretty genuine, like, just with everyone she spoke to. Like, all the friendships were just, all the bonds and connections she had with everyone. It was just really instant chemistry.
Yeah, I like that. I guess, yeah, just to kind of reiterate what I said at the beginning, like, you know what you're getting with Marvel film product. And this is a pretty good example of Marvel film product. So if you typically like Marvel film product, then purchase this unit.
Oh, one more thing. I did actually make one note since we were talking about Brie Larson and like where we had seen her and Scott Pilgrim. And so now we've actually seen a few Scott Pilgrim actors in the MCU.
I know.
So I'd like everyone to consider who Michael Cera would be.
Oh, God. I don't know.
He's probably one of those gods, you know.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. He's a watcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm just saying I want to see him in one of their future movies.
It is true. Captain America, Captain Marvel, who else? I'm trying to think of who else was in.
Michael B. Jordan was. Oh no, he was the other one. Oh yeah, who was there?
You know, you give Michael Cera enough money and you tell him he has to play a superhero, I bet he could put on some weight.
Yeah, probably. He's not going to look like Chris Evans, but yeah.
Give it time.
All right, guys, let's move into the spoilers right now. Okay, so the thing that I really wanted to kind of talk through with you guys, and maybe you can help me understand it a little better or come to an understanding of it, is, and the thing I've been thinking about a lot is the basic general theme of this movie. So the very first scene of this movie is Veer's fighting against Jude Law, and he's basically chastising her for having emotions, right? She's, your emotions are your weakness. You need to stop it. And that is like very specifically coded language, right? I mean, that is very specifically man talking down to woman, telling her she's being too emotional, that kind of thing. And then her arc throughout the movie then is not necessarily like changing, but more coming to understand that there's nothing wrong with that. Because and this is where I think the movie kind of fails, because there's not really any moment in this film where like her emotions make her better, like specifically telegraphed in the movie. Like there's no part where she like is struggling to overcome something and she realizes that if like, I guess you could argue that like her powers are tied to her emotions in some way, and her unleashing her full potential is her, you know, tapping into her emotional side, whatever, quote unquote. But that's like, it just doesn't.
Yeah, the powers were so vague with that, so it wasn't saying. And that's the other thing too. There wasn't really. I'm trying to think back now if there was a moment really in the movie where like her emotions got the better of her and it made her worse. And no, I don't think there was any of that either. Like it was really interesting. Like the first time he was telling her all of that, and when they're first fighting, because he does it both at the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie. In the beginning of the movie, like it was kind of just like, yeah, that's how you fight. He's right. End of the movie is like, ooh, they're making a point against sexism now, and now it's like really on the nose. Oh, and her reply, it's super on the nose. Okay, but like there wasn't that arc for her at all. Like it was just, I wish I had like picked something different to hone in on. Like there's a sci-fi video game I love because it talks about all the different species and how they're all so predictable, except humans are just so emotional and they can be volatile and they have just extremely diverse, and they go all out and they're just really ambitious, and like having it almost come more from that, especially with her actually being a human, like kind of would have made sense, you know? But no, they just kind of didn't get a good message across, but they were trying.
Yeah, I mean, and I actually really love the idea. I love the central core conceit of this idea about no, it's actually your emotions that make you strong. It's your emotions that make you who you are, and who you are is amazing, and you should never feel ashamed of that. I think that's a great
Hulk.
overall
Yeah.
message. I just don't think the movie as given earns that at all.
Agreed.
And that's a bummer.
Entirely. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it doesn't really connect. And also, you know, if we are saying that that's the theme, then I don't think that's like the point isn't yeah, women are super emotional and out of control, and that's good. The point is, no, saying women are super emotional and out of control is a negative stereotype that is not true.
Right.
So her getting super mad and kicking everybody's ass is like, oh, so I guess she was super emotional and out of control the whole time.
Yeah. Like she's just like kind of cocky and confident like the whole time. Like it almost felt like it was, I wanted to see people like tear her down with that. Like stop being funny, stop smiling. Well, like, you know, like just like, oh, this is serious. Like I almost wanted to see more of that. But her, you know, like a memory story like this is supposed to, like, where you're finding your past and figuring out who you were and like finding out who you really are. Usually it's about being comfortable in your own skin and like growing into that and like figuring out like why you always felt off. I didn't feel like she felt off like at all. It was just like, oh, I'm curious about this thing. Not like, wow, I'm like really struggling in this alien world to fight with all these aliens when I'm not an alien. Like there wasn't like any of that, you know?
That makes a lot of sense. Cause like Jude Law was like horribly gaslighting her the whole time. Like that's the point. Like she doesn't actually, I mean, this is my reading that I made up in my head just now, is she doesn't have emotional control issues at all. She's a fucking fighter pilot. Right. She doesn't have emotional control issues. He's gaslighting her and making her doubt her own instincts and her own like well-honed and in control self by saying you're too emotional. That's why you're having trouble controlling your powers. When in fact, the reason she's having trouble controlling her powers is she has a little inhibitor thing on her. Like so it's all gaslighting. But like that's not like the fact that that is the actual conflict of the film, I don't think is terribly well connected with either dramatically. So
Well, I mean, like, and here's the powers are a metaphor for her femininity, right? I mean, that's like, I think one of the things the movie is saying, and therefore the beginning of the movie, when like he's like the beginning and end of the movie are two sides of him telling her not to use her powers. The only way you can fight me, the only way it will be legit, the only way you will have earned a victory over me is if you don't use your powers and you fight me, quote unquote, like a man, right? So basically reject your feminine side. The only way it counts is if you're using your power, if you fight me like I want you to fight me. And so at the beginning of the movie, she rejects that by shooting him. And the end of the movie, she does that too. And the moment, the key moment there is her saying, I don't owe you anything, right? So like it's less her changing, it's less her coming to a realization and more an arc of how the movie frames that action. The movie frames that action in the beginning as her disobeying orders and being bad. By the end of the movie, it's her self-actualizing, right? And I think that's what they were going for, because it is very clear throughout this entire movie that Carol Danvers does not change in any kind of noticeable way. She is still kind of the same person. She has just come to understand and be more okay with that person. Because that's one thing that I wish the movie had kind of done too, is like there's really no tangible difference between Veers and Carol Danvers, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of like as she discovered her past, like what she discovered about herself, because like it's not like, oh, Veers is this kind of selfish goof off that doesn't really care about other people, but Carol Danvers was this really compassionate person, and she's finding her way back to that compassion. That's not her arc in this movie. She was compassionate before she even knew about herself. She went back and saved the one guy. Like she didn't have to, but she turned around and saved Fury before she even knew who she was. So, right. So like
her character in this is just so unmoving. She could completely forget about her past and still be the same character.
right. And like on a surface level, like I see why they did it that way. I see like the point of this movie is not Carol needs to change. It's that she was always great, and it's her rediscovering exactly how great. I get that. I just don't think it makes that interesting of a movie, and I think it hurts the message it's trying to tell.
Yeah.
But other than that, the movie's great.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, everyone, like, there was no, nobody was sweating, you know, like, there wasn't any, like, real challenge. Like, I know it's a Marvel movie, so it's, you know, good guys are gonna win, at least mostly, with very, very small, bittersweet losses, but still, like, nobody was sweating. Like, there was no real, like, things to overcome, it felt like.
Yeah, well, there was no all is lost moment whatsoever. Like, and I mean, this is my biggest.
I mean, there kind of was her like trapped in the machine and being covered in like the machine, like the central intelligence or whatever it's called. That was supposed to be her all is lost moment.
Yeah, that was. I agree, that was supposed to be the all is lost moment. But the way, and again, I think this comes down to the directing. Is I didn't feel anything about it. Like, and I don't know, like maybe I'm like a Neanderthal or something, but like I need to see the hero getting like punched in the face to believe that they're in trouble, and she's just like in a computer and she's like, I'm gonna get out, and the mainframe's like, no, you're not, and then it's like, yeah, she does.
Even her fight with like Jude Law, though, like it. Like, I was reminded, I was like, okay, why is this fight, like, so flat? She just absolutely hates him. Isn't she, like, angry? Isn't there, like, more emotion, though? Weren't they, like, good friends? And maybe she had a crush on him for 6 years, which is what what the implications I thought were. Like, isn't there more to it? Isn't it, like, damn, couldn't this have been more like the Captain America, Iron Man fight? Where, like, they just don't want to do it, but they're just not stopping. And they were just mad, and they had to get out the emotions, and they had to do that. And it was just an emotional fight as well as a really physical fight. There was no reason why this fight could not have been like that, where it was friends fighting. Like 6 years. And they were obviously really close for those 6 years. Like, it just doing a full 180. And even like their reasoning wasn't the worst. Like she was, you know, finding out about like all this stuff and all the betrayers and the actually Captain Marvel and all of that, like all at once. Like there wasn't a long period of her not believing them once she heard the story. Yeah,
there's so much room for drama there. There's betrayal, there's hurt feelings, and then it's all just concluded with like all of her friends who she fought side by side with for years were betraying her the whole time. Well, screw you guys.
It wasn't even betraying her so much. Like they literally just took her captive, raced her brain, and kept her. Like a betrayal would have been if they like. Let's see, how do I phrase this?
So the woman says, "I never liked you." It's like, well, that's stupid. Like it should have been.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It should have been that they were friends, and now they can't be friends because the truth about the Kree has been revealed.
Yeah, well, I mean they're on different sides, and it's almost like the truth of the Kree and the Skrull are just a matter of opinion. Because like that's, I mean, you know, like they were obviously being fought very fiercely against as well. Like they were defending themselves, but still defending themselves very fiercely, where like it would be like they weren't totally helpless. It wasn't just that. It was just getting the other side of the story, which was interesting and was more of what they were talking about, the bigger picture, the war. And I love that like she was tapping into those ideas of Marvel. And those are good ideas. Like that's great. Like the bigger picture of like just stopping the war, stopping the fighting, rather than, you know, defecting to the other side. Like there wasn't, you know, Vers didn't defect to the other side prior to that. Like she wasn't forced to defect to the other side. Like humans had nothing to do with any of that. Like she didn't know what her captain's goals were until she found out about the aliens, which was when she lost her memories. Like it wasn't something that she was fighting for in her previous Earth life, like at all. So the betrayal was just like one lie rather than a complete and total 180 betrayal. Well, you know?
I mean, I think the problem with it is none of these characters got time. Like
Yeah.
even if her and the other woman in her unit would have had a really like it would have been friends, the movie didn't have time to establish that. We get very little with her group. We get like one half scene, and then we get like one of the worst shot action scenes ever. I think the early action scene on that planet is like so dark. I couldn't tell what was going on in any of that at all.
All the fog and the stuff.
Yeah, it was just too much. It was not good. It was not good. And so so you don't have any kind of emotional hit. I mean, you barely have like emotional reaction to Jude Law's character a little bit. The Dr. Wendy Lawson being Marvell thing didn't really work because like we got no Annette Bening. Like she's barely in the movie. So like to reveal that, oh, this person you didn't really know is actually this other person you didn't really know. It's just like, oh.
Who was doing more things you didn't really know about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's very important though, believe me.
That's the story I would have liked to see. I would like to see it way more based around like her pilot days and those struggles and seeing her character that way.
Right. Well, and that's one of the other central problems of this whole thing is that like one of the thematic through lines, I think, is this idea that she is a person that when she gets knocked down, she stands back up, right? And we go through that montage of her throughout her life getting knocked down and standing back up. But because every single one of those knockdown moments prior to the present one was flashback pre-movie Carol Danvers, like there's no attachment to that. Like there's no moment in this movie where Carol gets knocked down and like, oh God, I gotta get back up. It's just like, no, actually, this is just the way she's been all the time. And so it's like, there's no emotional, like, fuck yeah moment there, right? Like they wanted it to be, but because it was all pre-movie, like every moment of her standing back up was a flashback. It was not linked to a moment we saw in the actual movie. It was just flashback pre-movie Carol Danvers. It just didn't have the, like, I kind of enjoyed it still because I think that's a well shot part of the movie is where
it was a really good little montage. Yeah, like it really was.
It's almost like on its own you could like cut that out and just have that be like a Super Bowl commercial.
They did. I think they had that in one of their trailers. Like I hate watching longer trailers. Like I like sneak peeks and like that's it. Like as much as possible. But I think they had that montage in one of their trailers. Yeah. Like with that whole you just keep getting back up little speech too. Yeah. So it's a great shot. Like it's a great trailer stuff. It's something memorable from the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I think I had a lot of little issues with because this was one of the Marvel movies. Like there's a handful where I'd have to like go and research like, okay, who the hell is this character? What's up? What's the deal? This one was extra complicated because the complicated background. But with what I did read, I was like, okay, this sounds really, really cool. And the little changes that they made, I feel like kind of hurt the story overall. Like her, like actually originally just being a human and just getting the power the slightly different way. I think that kind of hurt a little bit.
Oh, I don't know anything about the comics, so
yeah. Well, it's so it's her and Marvell. There is an explosion. Marvell, like they're doing like a big power thing. Marvell does a thing where comic book logic and science, where Marvel is killed in the explosion, but saves Carol Danvers and kind of unfortunately like merges. So it's like her, but kind of has Marvell's soul and all this extra power. And so that will explain like why she gets to have so much power, why she's so different. Like, she's just a regular human walking around after a mini Tesseract explosion.
Yeah.
Like, how'd she absorb that? Yeah. That's what I want to know.
The MacGuffins do whatever you want the MacGuffins to do.
I know. So many MacGuffins in these.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the more we're talking about this, the more I'm thinking, like, the problems with this movie are really very high level, actually. They're like, why did they tell the story this way? Why not cut out the whole first part of the movie where she's with the Kree? And instead, like the movie starts and she's on a mission, either a mission to Earth or a mission that leads her quickly to Earth within 10 minutes instead of 40. And then as she's on Earth, she's having like a series of parallel flashbacks to her fighter pilot days that are letting us get to know Carol Danvers, in contrast to alien weirdo Veers, who is acting different. And then there's a reconciliation where she has some moment, and like I can immediately see room for like really interesting and actually dramatic scenes that did not occur because they just like wanted to tell the story in a certain way, and I don't know why they did it that. I'm just like, why did you have all that first part at all? It doesn't make any sense.
So many opportunities, like just for more drama, more conflict, more complicated relationships. Like there's just a lot of missed opportunities there, I think, for all of that.
And like my biggest gripe with the movie is actually my gripe with a lot of these Marvel movies, which is like the last 20 minutes or whatever, where like, okay, so I'm going to compare it with Thor Ragnarok because that movie did this well, I think. So like Thor's getting his ass kicked. There's like actually interesting fighting where like it could go both ways. Nobody's power level is too insane. And then Thor kind of breaks the seal on his power, and suddenly he's Super Thor, and it's awesome. And you get the musical sting, and for like 1 minute you're allowed to feel like, yeah, this is awesome. And then after that 1 minute is over, very rapidly the movie concludes, as rapidly as it possibly can. In this movie, we get the badass moment where she rips out her little neck thing and becomes Super Saiyan. And then the movie gives her like a 10-minute victory lap of her blowing up spaceships and beating everybody up some more in different rooms. And it's just like, I'm just bored. Like you've already won. The conflict and the tension is completely deflated. This is boring. And I know that's not what I'm supposed to be feeling, because I know I'm supposed to be feeling, oh, this is awesome, she's blowing up the spaceships. Maybe the problem is I'm not the target audience. I admit that.
She punched a spaceship, Matt. She punched a spaceship.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Okay, I guess I'm just old and dead.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I said after the movie was like, man, I wish it didn't have the dead heart of a 1,000-year-old lich, because I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to be bored at the end there. And I wasn't bored at the end of Ragnarok, though. I thought that was perfect because it ended.
I was just wondering, like, why did they put that little chip on her to begin with? Why did they just make her like this? Why did they have a human train with the Kree and all this? That's the worst thing to do when you're harnessing someone's power. Like, if you're going to take her back, like, wait, I was just so into that. Like, why did they do this? Their plan was really bad with her. And they had a chip that could control the power, but what?
Well, I mean, they wanted to find the doohickey, right? So they knew she was the key to finding the doohickey, but they didn't want her to just kill them all. So they limited their power.
They totally didn't find it at all. It was all the Skrulls that found it through her anyway. So,
but you're right. They shouldn't have put her on a strike team if they just wanted to find the Tesseract. They could have just been like, hey, you're a transit worker, and we're just going to occasionally ask you some questions about your past until we find the Tesseract.
Well, that would be a waste of resources because they could use her to kill all the baddies, which are actually the goodies. Let's talk about some good things about this movie.
Okay.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Because I actually quite enjoyed this movie.
It was really fun.
Which the entire podcast would make you think is not true. I want to talk about
all the spoilers we don't like.
I want to talk about the Skrull arc a little bit here. Because I do think this is like the most emotionally resonant part of the film. And I think that's largely due to the amazingness of Ben Mendelsohn as the character. So we get this wonderful moment, and like you were hinting at, Sesh, I don't think this is supposed to say that like actually all the Kree are bad and actually all the Skrull are good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to say that. I think what it is introducing complications to this, and this particular group of Skrull were just trying to live and survive, and were being systematically hunted down because they're scary shapeshifters that we aren't comfortable with being around.
Right, which, to make a note on, I was super excited of their introduction in this, in Marvel, because that was something I did read a little bit about, and that is like it's scary and it's serious. Like, they are a problem in the comics.
They have a whole lot of potential because it's DNA level match. So whoever they turn into, if they have superpowers, let's say.
Yes, exactly. Whole comic series based on that. Like, I was like, really, that's honestly like when I mentioned them like kind of being a little like quippy themselves bothered me. Like, it wasn't that they were, it was that they were quippy and they were like, oh my God, guys, having like the Skrull in this is like the next like really big deal arc that like Marvel's going to go into, because this is huge. This is like game changer, like their introduction. Like, it's really big. Like, that's what's going to happen after Thanos. Why are they making jokes? These things are scary. And then, you know, it makes more sense later on. It's like, okay, no, this totally works and it feels right. Like, it was one of those things I was really happy to see felt off, but then it was explained why it fell off, and then it makes perfect sense. And I thought it was really, really great. And it did add some nuance. And even if they do become really terrible bad guys later on, it's going to be more conflicted because we're going to remember these characters in this movie and that not all of them are bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the Kree. I thought that was a great, that was one of my favorite parts of the story. I mean, the Skrull, sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody loves the Kree.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at Ben Mendelsohn's.
Human-like.
I was looking at Ben Mendelsohn's filmography because I'm realizing that he's been in like everything for the last 5 years or so.
He makes everything better. He goes into something and he makes it better. And I'm so glad he's in the MCU in some way or another now.
Apparently the Australian is actually his true accent, which is fun.
Yeah.
The Skrull subplot was my favorite part of the story, actually. Like, just everything about it pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, like I was talking about in the non-spoiler section, the really emotionally impactful moments for me were those smaller moments. Like, everything in New Orleans, I think, in this movie was fantastic. Carol Danvers meeting up with her old friend Maria and her daughter, like that. I think that, like, her sitting at a kitchen table and it's like she's not sure, like, her. It must be such a weird experience where you're looking across the table from someone that like knows you, like knows every single thing about you, and you're just starting to learn about yourself and about them, and how like you kind of see Carol Danvers slip into like this old friendship as if she never left it, which from my experience, when you've been away from friends that you're close with for a really long time, you very quickly just slip into this old rhythm with them. And I thought the movie captured that perfectly.
It did. It was so genuine too. There was nothing forced about it. Like, it felt good.
Yeah. And I mean, everything in the when she shows what happened and like the scenes that took place outside and you know, speaking with Talos as he shifts from being this bad guy, like it's so funny because like you can pull off a silly like quipping bad guy, right? Like that can work. And he's able to just so effortlessly change from the silly quipping bad guy to the silly quipping ally. And he doesn't have to change his performance that much. It's just kind of how the film frames him. And I don't know. It worked so well, especially in that New Orleans scene.
Yeah, totally.
And Goose, guys.
Goose. Okay. So are all cats in the world aliens?
No, just this cat.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say yes because according to Futurama, yes, definitely. You know, they've been here a very long time.
Because Talos is like that. Is like that animal. Like, you should be careful. He sees the cat and he's like, "Oh, you should be careful," and that's before he could plausibly know that it's not a normal cat. So therefore, Matt, all cats in the universe are scary aliens.
The Skrull are DNA copying shapeshifters, so presumably they can sense the DNA of the thing that they're looking at.
That's more of a stretch than I am prepared to admit the screenwriters were anticipating that you would make.
Considering everything else, yes. Except, you know, there was another stretch. I think the cat scratching Samuel L. Jackson's eye may have transferred the power to his eyeball so it doesn't work anymore. And so now that eyeball, when he comes back, it's going to be something powerful.
Oh,
we're going to have, there's going to be some kind of power transfer that happened.
I am curious what you guys thought of that, though, because this is kind of a prequel, right? At least for some of our characters. And we've already talked about how great Nick Fury is. I think seeing a version of Nick Fury that is not this like kind of grizzled frustrated by years of dealing with this shit is pretty wonderful. But what did you think about the eye scratch specifically? Because I know a lot of people didn't like that.
I'm 50-50 on it. I have decided that if it does turn out to be something that the cat gave him, that gives him something that's advantage, that gives him like some kind of advantage later on down the line, I'm all for it. If not, it was out of character for the Florkin. What was the cat? It was a Florkin, right?
Florkin or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was out of character for that because the cat, was so on point with allies and being friendly and careful and
Yeah, but that's cats though. Sometimes they just say "fuck you."
But that was a really big fuck you, and that cat was smart, so it knew it was gonna mess up his eye.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. At that point in the movie, I was just like, all right, fine, whatever.
And he wasn't doing anything different than he had already done with the cat,
I mean, but it's like, have you guys ever seen Hot Tub Time Machine?
Yes.
No.
So in Hot Tub Time Machine, they have a bellhop that is missing an arm. And then they go back in time and they find the bellhop has 2 arms. And like all throughout the movie, there are like 5 different scenes where the bellhop's doing something incredibly dangerous. And one of the characters is like, oh, look, this is it. This is the moment he loses the arm. And then like he gets out of it narrowly until the very end where it happens like when you wouldn't expect it to at all. That's kind of what I felt like with Fury's eye throughout this whole thing. Like I thought like they were kind of setting things up where they wanted us to think he's about to lose his eye. And they even had a moment where he gets scratched like right above the eye, right? Where he gets like hit, but I forgot if he got shot or hit with something. I don't know. But it's right. And there's like, oh, this is the moment. And then it comes the moment you least expect it. And I thought that was great. Like I love that. I fully imagine a Nick Fury making up a bunch of bullshit stories about why his eye was ripped off when it's just a stupid cat scratched his eye. Like I think that is such a wonderful, like it takes nothing away from the character, the future version of the character, but it shows something that I think we've always known about Fury is under this kind of gruff exterior that he would like show to all the characters in modern day MCU. There was something else under there. He deeply cares about these people and he's a cuddlehead at heart, and like that's just I loved it. I don't understand why people don't like it.
He likes cats.
Of course he likes cats.
I mean, it's cute. I mean, there was somebody pointed out to me that he had in one of the other movies, I forget which one. Somebody asked him how he lost his eye, and he was like, "Oh, this was the last time I trusted someone," which is pretty funny. Once I heard that, I was like, okay, yeah, that's a little bit better for the cat. I'm just a little mad at the cat because that's kind of a big deal. Like I'm looking at my cats now, and I'm just like, they better not. That'd be bad. Like especially if they were like aliens able to hold and understand the power of the Tesseract and save the day. Like it's a little immature.
I mean, in that moment though, you saw it coming because I've only intermittently lived with cats, but I know cats well enough to know like the cat was telling him, "I don't like what you're doing right now," for a good 10 seconds before it did that. So I don't know. I was just like, okay, all right. I guess it's funny. It's all right. I don't know. I guess I'm positive on it.
Have a heart.
Didn't kill me. Okay, let me put it this way. It didn't ruin the character of Nick Fury because the thing is, he always was this guy who was actually kind of a real person,
right?
A little bit silly sometimes, even, and who was putting on airs, and just trying to be the badass guy in the leather jacket, and that was an act all along, and we knew that. So this is consistent with that.
I'd agree with that. Like, I don't think it ruins his character at all. I was a little off put with consistency in the cat's character, but that's really it. That was my only problem with it. I thought of another Nick Fury moment. Yeah, you could go on though.
I was just gonna say, much more important question than any of this is, who is the little squirrel girl going to turn out to have been impersonating this whole time?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I mean, I think you're absolutely right that she is someone that, like, both of those little girls are going to be characters later in the movie, like later in the series. Like they that was so telegraphed like crazy. Like I think Lieutenant Trouble, is that the name she called the other girl? I think that's an actual MCU or Marvel character, I think.
Okay.
I don't know who, because I never really have read any of these books. But I think you're absolutely right that the little Skrull girl is going to be someone. And I don't know. A lot of people have said Nebula, right? Maybe.
Yeah. I think that's one of the theories, is that she's been Nebula this whole time. And that, I don't know if there's a few reasons I don't like that. First of all, it's just like very like brutal that this poor girl got cyborgized. But see, I was trying to read too much into the fact that the human girl says, never change your eyes, they're so beautiful, or whatever. And it's like, okay, she has these like vivid yellow Skrull eyes. We would recognize those if they were in someone else. But it's like, okay, don't be too literal. She's probably just impersonating someone who we know, but I don't know who it might be. So
I don't know.
Yeah, very curious what they're gonna do with those kids.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the 90s stuff? Did you think it added to the movie? I thought parts of it were great. I think landing in a blockbuster was great. But I don't it's not really 90s nostalgia in any kind of purposeful way to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't feel nostalgic for me. Like it didn't hit any of those strings for me. There were some things that were recognizable, but it was very it was too much of the music only, and there wasn't enough of the visuals, enough of those recognitions. The music was a lot of 90s. I remember when I first started watching, I was like, wait, I thought this one was the 80s. Oh crap, I was mixing it up for what's going to be the Wonder Woman sequel, which is taking place in the 80s. So I thought this one was the one that was going to be taking place in the 80s. I was a little thrown off at first.
I guess I just didn't like any of the parts where they drew attention to it, like like a long panning shots of things where you're like, I get it, I got it, it's blockbuster. Okay, I think the
Radio Shack, Radio Shack.
Yeah, and somebody even said it in the theater before we saw it. Yeah, like there's a point it's going to be a Radio Shack.
Yeah,
like
right.
Yeah.
He's using a payphone. Yeah, we had those in the 90s, I guess.
The computers. I actually laughed at the computer taking a long time to load.
That one was really funny. I wanted more moments like that from her. Like, what is this planet? How is there anything here? Like, you guys are so far behind.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted more exasperation from things taking too long, and even like being frustrated that the payphone is what it is. Like, it was just not. It wasn't like emphasized in the right areas, I feel like, and it wasn't quite the right things to actually hit nostalgia chords.
I think the most grating moment for me was when he's like, oh, you look like somebody's disaffected daughter, and it's like, because you're wearing a Nine Inch Nails shirt. Like, that's really
yes,
I know,
that's a weird
the Nine Inch Nails shirt. But the whole time I'm like,
but grunge is a good look for her.
Is this Disney? Guys, why is it a Nine Inch Nails shirt?
Like,
because it's awesome.
90s,
everyone wore Nine Inch Nails shirts in the 90s. Everybody.
I'm pretty sure Nine Inch Nails isn't grunge by any stretch of the imagination. So,
well, yeah, no, but you combine them, man. She's got the plaid.
What if like she got like a little mermaid shirt and she's like, this is too girly, and you had to grab a leather shirt?
Yeah.
Or Beauty and the Beast, I mean, since I think that one came out in the 90s and not. But yeah, they could have done that. And that there was a one other thing I had read about that I was a little excited and then a little disappointed about, is that the cat's name was Goose instead of Chewy.
So why was it supposed to be Chewy? I don't know.
That's the name of the cat in the comics.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So originally it's, obviously Star Wars, and then they changed it because they also own Star Wars. I don't know why they felt like they had to change it. Chewy would have been adorable. That would have been great.
I think they were just leaning into their Top Gun. A lot of the movie is leaning into Top Gun feelings a lot. I mean, just like she's riding around on a motorcycle. It's like, so I think that's why, but.
Yeah, like they had it. I was a little disappointed too.
I don't need more Star Wars references in my life.
It could be everywhere. It could be constant. Why wasn't there, R2-D2 somewhere?
Yeah, right.
You could shoehorn those in sometime soon.
We were crazy about Star Wars in the 90s too. Let's make lots of Star Wars references.
But they had like the cat. She wasn't even super big on the cat once she met the cat. Which
she liked
I guess
the cat.
She wouldn't. She liked
nobody.
it.
It's just comparatively, nobody likes the cat as much as Fury did.
This is true, and that's important. I'm very glad that he was the one that liked the cat the most.
Can we? So we kind of said it was, but we didn't really focus on how incredible the de-aging tech was on Samuel L. Jackson. I thought it was fantastic. I legitimately forgot.
Yeah.
I don't think it works as well on Coulson because they also de-aged Agent Coulson. And he looked a little more waxy, a little more sheeny. But man, Sam Jackson looked great. The only time I could tell that was a 70-year-old man actually there was when he was running around. whenever Fury had to run, I was like, oh, that's an old man running right there.
I was a little curious if they had like a girdle because I was like, he looks like he's fit again. Yeah, or I can never tell because he always has the jacket. But
I think they just layered and contoured to hide it that he's a little bit bigger in his older age. But it's so funny though because he's actually like he looks younger than Sam Jackson in '95 looked. Like 1995 was Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Sam Jackson does not look that young in that movie.
Yeah, no, I thought there were basically only like 2 shots in the whole movie where. I remembered that I was watching a de-aged actor, so that's pretty impressive to me.
On the other side of that coin, though, is I thought the third act Captain Marvel CG stuff looked bad. I thought it looked real bad when she's falling to the earth, and then realizes at the last minute, like to fully embrace her power, and she figures out she can fly. It's like that stopped looking like Brie Larson to me. Like that, it didn't resemble her at all. I thought that was not good. Maybe they spent all their budget money on Sam Jackson.
I think they did. I didn't really like the any of the like the flight, like her flying. I thought was like all right, looked fine enough. It's only gonna look so realistic, being what it is. But all of like the air combat stuff, all of that, even after the memory stuff when it was supposed to be kind of flashy and confusing, even after like later on when we're seeing stuff, like it's still like not great. Like it wasn't good action stuff. It didn't really look super believable.
You mean like her and the fighter pilot?
Yeah, and like it was just underwhelming.
Yeah, I don't know how we've gotten worse at this since Star Wars: A New Hope 500 years ago. Like we know how to make space dogfights look good.
Well, it's just I mean it's kind of I don't know. All CG is mined out to like 30 different companies, right? So it's like the company doing Sam Jackson was not doing anything else. Mm-hmm. The company doing flying Captain Marvel was not doing flying ships, right? Like it's just like every bit is like carved out and shipped off to someone else. So when I see parts of CG that look bad and parts of it that look good, I'm like, oh, well, those guys, whoever they hired to do that one, they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't notice the specific thing you're talking about with her looking wrong, but yeah, that's the kind of thing that can be distracting for sure.
Yeah. But, as we come up on the end of this conversation, we've said a lot of negative stuff here. I really still enjoyed my experience with the movie. I kind of want to go watch it again and see if it improves itself on a second viewing, because I do think, like, yes, I think Danvers' arc is clunky. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really feel earned. But at the same time, I think she's so delightful of a character. It's like when I go to analyze the story, I like it less, but when I just think about like how my experience, I like it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she fits in with the other Marvel superheroes. Like with a lot of them, she really does. She's fun. It's entertaining. She's quippy. Like she has a confidence, and it's overall really fun. I think on a second viewing, what I'm looking forward to is actually just reading all the Easter eggs that I haven't been paying attention to, because I can't remember 20 movies worth of Easter eggs that were probably all stuffed into this movie. But people online can, and so I've actually been reading those online, and there's a lot of little fun bits, like the Sam Jackson, last time I ever trusted somebody, it took my eye, like that. Those are fun little bits that I think I'm gonna be able to appreciate the movie more once I read those and I see that effort was put into it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see it again. You know how I always end up saying I like movies more after we have a chance to discuss them. I think this is the first time it's been the opposite, because I walked out of the movie just being like, yeah, that was pretty good. I have some complaints, but they're mostly the same complaints that I normally have with Marvel movies. This time I found a whole bunch more complaints while we're discussing it just now. But yeah, I think watching it again, maybe I could just put it in perspective and be like, yeah, okay, fine, those complaints are valid, but like just remember the parts that are actually fun and good, and appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah. Plus she shoots Jude Law with her fist lasers and he goes flying into a mountain.
It was pretty cool.
So this is the best movie ever.
I actually realized what superhero she really reminds me of. It's Aquaman.
What? Hold up. Please explain.
She's quippy. She's confident. There is no real arc to her character.
Aquaman has an arc. He gets new armor and a new trident.
She got a new suit.
Yeah.
And new powers. Ooh.
She did. She's got that handy press buttons on a thing and your suit changes color thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I'd take that.
I guess one of the things I want to conclude on here is something I actually found delightful, because there was a lot of reporting about this movie, how like they had gotten a significant amount of money from the Air Force and how people felt like kind of weird about that this is like propaganda. And I think it's actually like delightfully subversive in that regard, because I don't think the movie is like pro-military. In fact, the oppressive military force that's just like going into other planets and bombing the hell out of innocent people are the bad guys. and I think it's so funny that they took the Air Force's money and then made a movie that was like, hey, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I think that comes with complaining about things before you see them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like that didn't happen to this movie at all.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. It didn't completely change all of Rotten Tomatoes, was it?
Yeah. And that's the most remarkable thing about this is all the complaints about this movie before it came out, and it's just fine. And it's not even like particularly like fuck yeah feminism type of a movie. It's just a superhero movie with a lady in the lead role. That's it. That's all it is.
Yep. Yep. And it's not even a solo female director either.
Right. And like, look, I don't want to diminish like the importance for women out there. Like, I know there's a lot of women and girls out there that are like so stoked about this thing, and I think it matters and it's important, and I'm happy that we're living in this time now where these things are happening. But I feel like people need to just calm down. It's the internet. Yeah. Please calm down.
Yeah, like there's movies with like messages, and then there's movies that are just normalizing and not doing anything special. And that's more what this movie is. Like, it's just normalizing it.
Yeah,
which is good. It's needed.
Yeah, I kind of don't even want to say anything about it, because I'm like, us talking about it fuels the fire of the like the controversy. It's like there's no controversy. No one is having a controversy. It's like a vortex in a stream that gathers momentum and then dissipates on its own. It doesn't mean anything. Just let it die. Anyway, these are movies. They're entertainment products. Don't try to make it into a whole culture war thing, everyone. Thank you. I'm getting off my soapbox now.
All right. Well, I think the great thing to move on to now that we've finished with Captain Marvel, is let's talk about Endgame. So we got a new trailer today for the Avengers Endgame, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it a little bit here, because there was this marketing campaign is very interesting, because it is one of these campaigns that is like fully aware that we're gonna all see the movie.
Yeah.
And it knows it, so it doesn't really need to sell us on the movie. It's just like, by the way, this is a thing that exists, and that's it. Because that's like, we got this is the final trailer that came out today. The movie comes out in about a month, and we know nothing about the plot of this movie whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, everyone's gonna see it. Like, we don't need to be sold on it. It's literally just like a hype video rather than a trailer.
It's to remind us of the date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I'm someone who often complains about trailers giving away the whole movie, and this is a trailer that gives you so little that you don't even, you're like, I don't know even what this is, like other than it's the sequel to the other last one, which I guess that's enough. I guess it is enough because I'm going to see it. So, yeah, this is just sort of the most perfunctory trailer imaginable.
That's why I liked it a lot, because I used to really love watching trailers, and then I started getting so disappointed and so much was revealed and it was like entire plots, and I just started hating watching trailers, but I still love watching teasers, and this felt more like a teaser, so I was super excited about it, and I'm really happy that I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I don't want to walk into this like being like, because we really don't know. Like in this trailer, we see them. They're in some kind of, like, we don't know if it's a spacesuit or maybe it's a quantum world suit, or we just no idea. It's enticing, right? It's like, what's that gonna be? What's that gonna mean? That's a better position to be in than I see what the plot is. Yeah.
And we got to see Carol fucking Danvers be a badass.
It's true.
I just talked about how mixed I was about that movie, but her standing there in that moment, like standing across from Thor, it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted, and it was like good. It linked up perfectly to the post-credit scene from Captain Marvel, where like she shows up suddenly, like you know it's coming, and yet her presence is already felt, like just like that, like just she's got a presence, and I love it, and I am really interested to see how Brie Larson, how Captain Marvel slots into this team of these characters that we've known and been around for a decade.
Yeah.
So remember how Thor and Star-Lord weren't getting along very well at all? Well, girl version of Star-Lord and Thor, I suspect are going to get along very well.
I think they are.
I'm going to ship it. I know you guys love that word, so I'm just going to ship that right now.
Yeah, well, that's... I'm on board. I'm on board with this ship. Cool.
All right. So yeah, that's Endgame.
Yeah.
So let's
we know nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I think it is very interesting that the tone is so dour, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Right.
All right, let's just do a quick, as we wrap this week's episode up, let's just do a quick what we've been watching, because I had something I watched that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I think you did too, Matt. So, Sesh, we'll start with you. What you been watching?
So I like how you start with how you guys want to talk about the thing you've been watching. So,
well, we're just trying to be nice to our guests and let you go first.
You know what? This is good. I am actually glad to share this, and I have a very specific note as to why as well. And I thought about this the other day while I was watching it. So I like to have a show that's kind of like a white noise show that like I can kind of put on while I'm doing something on my computer. You know, like I only care so much about what's happening in the plot because it's crazy. It's entertaining enough. If I had no idea what I want to watch, okay, I'll put on another episode of that. And since I caught up with my other show like that, my guilty pleasure that is Supernatural, I had to find something else until they have the new season on Netflix. And that something else has been Vampire Diaries, which is it's a combo of, well, obviously Twilight and everything Twilight wishes that it was and failed to be with Supernatural. It is It's dumb. It's really dumb, but it's a lot of fun. And this thing I thought of the other day, what I realized while watching it, is I was like doing laundry or something, and I realized this was like the 100th time a character has called another character on a phone and literally just given all the exposition and everything that's happened in the plot in like the last like episode or 20 minutes or whatever that just happened. And I was like, that's great. She's explaining it to me so I don't have to watch it. It's the perfect white noise show.
That sounds, I don't know if great is the right word to use here.
It's a great white noise show. It's got some really fun, stellar seasons, really annoying, terrible characters, and some really fun, great, sexy characters. It plays on that a lot. There's a lot of shirtless guys in this, and every girl is pretty too. Just, this. The friend that got me into this actually has credited this to being able to teach guys how to get girlfriends. He's shown it to a few guys, and each of those guys has now gotten a girlfriend since then. So I don't know. I can't speak to that department. I enjoy it. I enjoy the pretty faces and all the dumb plot stuff that's happening. It very much fills that supernatural void for me.
Cool. I may not be able to fit this one in, Sesh.
Yeah, I just don't know. So much stuff to watch. I might just have to skip that one.
Yeah.
Just imagine if Twilight actually succeeded in what it wanted to succeed in. If it was more like Supernatural.
Okay. I'm imagining that.
That's very difficult to imagine.
It's up there on my good bad shows. It really is. Like you like it more, even though it just gets so stupid.
Sounds perfect for what it is.
Yes.
All right, Matt, what have you been watching?
I saw the Lego Movie this past weekend. The second Lego Movie, the new one, the one that's in theaters. And I brought my two older kids, and they liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. I just, I hate to lead with a negative, but like it wasn't as magical as Lego Movie number one, but I don't think very many things are, frankly. That was like a really special movie. This one has some great moments, gets you right in the gut when it wants to. It's got some fun songs. It looks fantastic, of course, because they've just completely nailed the look of these movies, and it's very, very creative. It's just I really recommend it though. It's probably better than the Lego Batman movie, but not as good as the first one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I agree. There's no way it could be as good as the first one because we weren't expecting that, right? Like it was just that movie came out of nowhere and just it was like incredible.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I mean, I think it is a movie that's doing different things but does them well. It shifts to being not about a father-son relationship to be more about a brother-sister relationship. And it knows that the audience is aware of the meta conceit behind all the Lego stuff, so it doesn't like try to pretend that that's not around. It instead builds that into the narrative throughout instead of just a reveal at the end. And man, I completely agree. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, really beautiful. Really recommend it. That's kind of all I got to say.
All right.
I unfortunately still need to see it.
Yeah, you really do. I think you'll like it.
I know.
Yeah.
The thing I wanted to talk about is Behind the Curve. This is a Netflix documentary about flat earthers. A camera crew following around a bunch of flat Earth celebrities and kind of as they explain what their group is and about it. And the thing that I love about this documentary is it is fully aware of why people would click play on a documentary about flat earthers. The movie knows that you are clicking this because you want to laugh and make fun of these people. And it turns into that. Like it is a very funny documentary because these people are inherently kind of ridiculous. But the brilliance of it is knowing that you're coming in to make fun of them. It invites you in. You laugh at the stupid people. You point at the stupid people, and you criticize the stupid people. And then the documentary says, "Fuck you for laughing at them." Not because what they're saying is correct. It obviously isn't. because it is showing these people as human beings, and it is kind of in a way explaining how a person could come to believe this, how this thing that is obviously not true could become so core to someone's belief system that they abandon family, that they become so insular in their group that they will like it ends relationships. They leave their kids and their wives, and it's like this heartbreaking like portrait of people's ability to just buy into shit despite all evidence to the contrary. And the documentary kind of says like, look, the way you help those people, the way you convince those people, the way you bring those people back is to not laugh at them, to not call them stupid, to not dismiss them as crazy people, but to reach out to them and to treat them like human beings, and to show them that like, look, you don't have to tie your entire identity up into this thing, because like one of the main characters in the documentary is this man that lives with his mother he literally lives in his mom's basement, and he made these YouTube videos about Flat Earther, and they were like one of the first big like viral Flat Earth things that happened. So he's kind of like a pseudo celebrity amongst these people now. And like, he's a lonely guy that has found a group that worships him. So of course he's going to stay with it. And like, he even says in the documentary, like, what would happen if someone proved to you that this is wrong? And it's like, he's like, well, I mean, I couldn't leave, because if I said that, everyone here would hate me if I said that. And everyone outside of this group already thinks I'm a joke. And so I don't have a choice anymore. And it's just like, it's devastating. And it makes you feel so bad for all the laughing you do at them. And I think it's so wonderful in how it does that, and it plays right into your emotions. It manipulates you right into the mindset to fully impact you in ways that it should. And in conclusion, the Earth is flat.
I really want to see that. I mean, and that's a pretty universal human experience, I think, to believe something wrong, and then to be corrected and feel super embarrassed about it, or to be resistant to being corrected about it because it's become part of your identity. That's super, super normal, actually. In fact, I agree. I kind of get annoyed when people act like folks are stupid for believing wrong things. It's like, hey, jackass, like, everybody believes wrong things. Right. That it's a process, you know. You learn and you grow, and we should be welcoming for people who are willing to move on with things.
Right. And belittling them and ostracizing them only serves to root them deeper in that stuff. If you really want to convince these people that what they're believing in is wrong, that's just not the way to do it.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for anything that helps figure out the best way to teach people that just they don't want to learn. Because that, I think, is a really big problem. And like, you poke fun and stuff. Like, I was, you mentioned this one, and I'm reminded of like a meme I saw like 1 or 2 years ago about, I really want to see a documentary about following flat earthers traveling around the planet trying to find the edge of it. And then now there's this Netflix thing, and like it is funny, but I think it is like, I'm almost like, there's some levels of like not believing facts. I'm like, this is just kind of scary, and we need to like actually fix this and stop laughing at it.
Yeah. Well, and it's they bought a $20,000 gyroscope to prove that the Earth isn't spinning, and of course it proves that it is. Like, of course,
right.
And their reaction to it is just heartbreaking. Like, they're sitting there talking at a meeting, like in a corner with a camera on them that's like, don't tell anyone about this. This would be devastating for us. It's like, you're on camera. There's a documentary filming you. You're mic'd up. What are you doing?
Let it sink in. Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is they probably will, honestly, but no one learns from their mistakes instantly on the moment of realizing that they made a mistake. So.
Oh my God. And there's this woman, guys, and she's like, she has a Flat Earth podcast, and and like apparently there's like a war amongst the flat earthers, like we're two sides that are believing different things, and one side is now convinced that the other side is just a plant by the government.
Yeah,
of course.
Ooh,
yeah, because
subcultures.
because actually, Scott, the Earth is flat is like a simplification. Actually, like space is fake.
Yeah,
like there's no like nothing is real. It's
right,
all and so you're a shill because you're peddling this idea that all that's weird is that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, the dome theory. The dome theory is fucking insane. It's the or the reverse of the dome theory, which is the never-ending space, but we're on a disc. Like the dome theorists, people think those people are just as stupid as the people that believe it's round. And like this woman is talking, and she's on camera talking about like, you know, they just keep inventing crazy stuff about me. Like my name happens to end like her name's Alicia or something, so my name ends with CIA, which means I must be a plant by the CIA. And she's like, why would the CIA do that? That doesn't make any sense. And she says, and she's so close, she's like, it almost makes me think about the things I believe and wonder if those are true or not. And then there's this long pause, and she goes, but of course they are. And you're just like, oh no, you were there. You were almost there. Yeah, but it's a remarkable documentary. It's on Netflix. Everyone should check it out. That's Behind the Curve.
Cool.
It sounds so interesting.
All right, guys, that is all we had this week. Sesh, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us and talking about this movie. Do you have anything that you want to plug while you're here?
Yes, right now I've been back at streaming now that my computer is all fixed up. I'm ready to go. So I've been streaming a whole bunch on Twitch, and that would be under Review Sesh. And I just play a lot of video games, been doing a lot of art stuff. I've just been, added a lot more, so you could check me out there, or Instagram at SeshEV, or my Twitter, SeshMeVans, as in M. Evans.
SeshMeVans.
Mevans, because people go Evans? Evans? If I say Sesh M. Evans, Mevans? What's a Mevin? It's just easier to say M. Or me Vans.
I gotcha. Great. Yeah, everyone should check out Sesh. I caught some of your Resident Evil stream the other night. I didn't say anything because I was just like in the middle of doing other stuff. So, but it was good. It was good getting the notifications.
I'm having so much fun with Resident Evil, guys. I'm diving into Resident Evil, A game, Claire, blind run, first time playing. I'm ready for B game. I'm ready for my boy Leon, A and B. I'm super ready to dive into this game.
All right. Well, that is all we had. If you guys want to let us know what you thought of Captain Marvel, what you thought of that Endgame trailer, or any of the movies we talked about in our What We've Been Watching section, or Vampire Diaries, shoot, let us know what you think about that. You can always reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com, or over on our Twitter account at doofmedia.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought about Vampire Diaries. We'll just forward that right along to Sesh.
Yep, just send that.
Hey, Team Stefan or Team Damon? It's a need to know.
That's nonsense.
That's good.
So much better than Twilight, guys.
If you're not already subscribed to this podcast, we encourage you to do so and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
And you can find all the other shows and everything we do over at our website, doofmedia.com. And if you like what we do here and want to support us, consider becoming a patron of Doof Media. You can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/doofmedia and pledge $1 a month or whatever else you can afford to help ensure we keep growing and keep making new content.
Yeah, also please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week with an exciting new episode about something.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.